Come to Cuba. As you land, you'll feel the rhythm of this beautiful island. It enters your soul, beating in synchrony with your own heart. Long forbidden and untouched, Cuba has an enduring allure. Music is everywhere, and there's dancing in the streets. From the pulse of salsa to basement jazz clubs to the taste of rum and scent of cigars, Cuba is alive with rhythm and romance. Discover Havana from a big, shiny, vintage convertible. Conjure the island nation's colonial history through its glorious architecture. Discover the lasting imprint left by the Spaniards and the neoclassical and Baroque buildings that line the streets like majestic remnants of a thriving culture. The Emporium of the Caribbean. Feel the power of the Revolution and their legendary heroes. Walk in the footsteps of Hemingway and visit his treasured haunts. Hike the snaking jungle paths through the tropical forests and swim under the raining bubbles of waterfalls. Explore the verdant countryside and meet the locals who share their beautiful stories. Play with the fish in the pristine Caribbean waters. Browse the colorful kiosks filled with handiwork of local artisans. And bask in the smiling embrace of the Cuban people whose warm welcome tempts us to fall in love with this fascinating place. Our custom trips are drawn from a menu of enticing experiences with something interesting for everyone. This is Michael Gelber, CEO IWorld of Travel, inviting you to experience another memories beyond destination. IWorld of Travel. Expect more. Do more.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar leadership series. Today we are featuring Cuba. What a beautiful island. And we are pleased to have a very good friend and individual who leads our tours and our itineraries in Cuba, Johnny Considine. And of course, Alita Paljabek will be joining us as well as we discuss the small luxury group departure that we are putting together with Cuba, one that we have already for the end of this year, and some programs for departures in 2021. My name is Michael Gelber, CEO of IWorld of Travel. What I'm going to be doing now is introducing you to Johnny. With IWorld of Travel, the Cuba Tourism Board, Johnny as our expert in the destination and our LSGD products. Let me just give you an introduction to Johnny. He has been in doing this for 15 years. He lives in Havana. He is considered the best of the best. When you speak to any of the people that he works with, works for, with the tourism board, he really understands how to navigate and understand the culture of Cuba and really provide an opportunity for everybody to have the best experience that you possibly can. And so without any further ado, Johnny, if you want to unmute yourself, and welcome and thank you for participating.
Hi, Michael. Thank you so much for your very positive words. I think it's important to just mention that we are based in Havana, and our entire team is, which comprises of more than 35 people, are all Cubans apart from me. And, apart from being one important way of supporting the Cuban people, it also means that you have the best connections in the country. Often you will find people selling Cuba based in Miami and who have that extra layer and that extra gap, which means that I don't feel they can really deliver the kind of responsive service that luxury travelers really need. Especially in small group travel where, personalities can really change the character of a trip. And we have a lot of experience of working with American groups, luxury groups. And what we do is make sure that we report to you every day as an agent. And we also make sure to iron out any changes that we might need to make throughout the trip. So we're very responsive. The trip is not set in stone. If it needs to change, we can make it change, whether it's due to weather or personality or whatever. I wanted to start off by talking very quickly about the rules of travel for Americans to Cuba, because a lot of agents think that you can no longer travel to Cuba legally. And that's not the case. There were 12 categories of travel to Cuba. The present administration released one, which was called people-to-people educational, which actually was quite a restrictive way of handling group travel, very much based on educational side of things. The category that we're using is called Support the Cuban People, and that has come to be more important now because there have been so many private businesses opening in Cuba over the past 3 or 4 years. So the key to this, to legally traveling to Cuba with this itinerary, is that you have to show 8.5 hours a day of ways in which you supported private business in Cuba. And to do that, what we do is we make sure that all of the guides, all of the drivers and hosts, and all of the accommodation that you use are in private hands and not in government hands, as much as we can. Obviously, there are some parts of the country where that's just not possible, and we then do use a government hotel. But the majority of the itinerary is delivered by ordinary Cuban people who are setting up their own businesses. And in that way, you are supporting the Cuban people for many more hours than the 8.5 hours a day than you need to do to make it a legal itinerary. We also document the itinerary for you, and we send you a WhatsApp link at the end of the tour to show you the photographs of them interacting with the different business owners. We send you the receipts, and we send you a final itinerary so that if they are ever checked in 5 years, which is the amount of time that the Treasury Department need to or are allotted to check whether the trip is a legal trip, you've got everything to hand straight away without any problems to make sure you can show the Treasury Department that it was a fully legal trip and nobody has any problems. So yes, it is possible to travel to Cuba. It's very easy to travel to Cuba, and it's completely and utterly legal. And we also provide you with the visas and everything else you need in advance so that it's completely legal. So that covers that. Next, Michael. Next. Yeah, just a little bit more about how important it is to be based in Havana. It gives you access to, you know, the best guides and the best people to deliver experiences. To give you an idea, for the last 3 months, we've put together a whole host of new experiences on everything from the Cuban Missile Crisis to interactions with new dance troupes. As the country begins to open up more and more, and there are more and more private businesses, there are more opportunities for Americans to travel to Cuba legally and support all of these different kinds of private businesses. And it could be something as simple as surfing by the beach. So long as it's a private business that's delivering the service, then you're completely covered by the Treasury Department. So you can actually holiday in Cuba in the same way as you would to Costa Rica or anywhere else in the Caribbean or Central and Latin America. But the key to it is that each one of our experiences are delivered personally by an expert in that field. So you will get a lot of tour groups where you have one guide who's doing everything all day. He's running through art 1 minute, then history the next, bird watching after that. We don't do it that way. We do have a host or a tour leader, but each one of the individual experiences is delivered by an expert. And when we first spoke with Michael, he asked, you know, me personally, what was my favorite thing about Cuba? And of course, it is the people. And one great way for a group to meet lots and lots of different people is if you have a curator delivering the art tour, somebody who's passionate about art. You have somebody like Roberto Salas delivering the photography of the Revolution tour because he was actually there and he took the photographs. So that makes a very big difference. And I think that that's the thing that people remember the most when they go back home is all of the different people they met, which is, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 different people a day that's speaking about passionately about something they love. So next. Next. We only do tailor-made bespoke itineraries. A lot of the agents that you'll find will buy itineraries from the Cuban government. They're off the shelf. They don't have the same depth because of the fact that they're not delivered by experts. So everything is completely tailor-made. A lot of the tours that your clients will experience are completely unique to us. Nobody else does them. Nobody else currently is doing a women's empowerment tour, and nobody else is doing a Black History tour. So you can be sure that this is not something that they can go elsewhere and get to the same quality. We're very, very focused on local experiences. So this is not tourism, it's meeting somebody who's an activist from the Black history, or it could be somebody who's from the Jewish diaspora in Cuba, but it's all local people and local experts. So you never get the feeling that this is a tour guide who's running through a set of bullet points. It's actually somebody who's a local person. We are also different, I think, to a lot of the other agencies that we operate in the entire island and have done for 15 years. We've always provided vacations from everybody from Swiss to people in the Middle East and the UK, and these people have typically come to Cuba for 2 or 3 weeks. And they experience the island from one end in the west, Pinar del Rio and Viñales, all the way to Baracoa and Santiago. Next. I wanted to talk for a second about the ways in which you can build a support the Cuban people itinerary. And one of the best ways is by using private accommodation. I think there's been a misunderstanding about what private accommodation means in Cuba, and people think it means casa particular or living in a family home. But a lot has changed in the last 3 or 4 years, and an incredible amount of people from abroad have started to invest in Cuba and invest in these beautiful old colonial buildings. And we've got a few here that we can show you, but it's just a sampling. I mean, even now in Havana today, there are people finishing off projects with 5, 6 bedrooms to an incredibly high spec. This one is called Colonial Garden. They've got 5 properties in Cuba. They've got plans to have 10 more, and they're all built out to an incredible spec, beautifully designed. The owner is actually a guy who owns one of the fanciest restaurants in New York, and his Cuban girlfriend. But we get incredible feedback because these places are unique and beautiful. They've got art on the wall from young Cuban artists, and they make use of the colonial architecture and mix it with contemporary design to create something that's very Cuban, very unusual, and not something you would find in an international hotel. The next one is called the Alameda Suites. Is another new one, incredible spec as well. 5 or 6 rooms, so it's perfect for a multi-generational family or for a bunch of friends coming for a weekend. The other brilliant thing about these properties is the price point is very, very, very friendly compared to the international hotels, typically which run between sort of 300 to 500 a night. These are in the region of 100 to 200, 250 a night, depending on the spec. And the quality of the service you get from these people is just incredible. I mean, you have somebody who's there 24 hours a day. You want your ironing done, it's done in 5 minutes. You want your laundry done, it's all there. You want a fresh mojito on the terrace. It's just a completely different experience than the hotel experience. And it's really the foundation of what makes an itinerary legal in Cuba, because once you're staying in private accommodation, then the Treasury Department of the United States are very happy with that, because that's encouraging private business in Cuba. They're all across the city, from Old Havana to Vedado, and we try and make sure that when we bring groups or FIT to Cuba, that we have them initially in Old Havana in some beautiful boutique property, and then we move them to Vedado, when in that way you can see different parts of the city. This is a brilliant property. It's got 8 suites. It's run to a very high spec, and it's the kind of property you could have, as I say, small groups, or you can have multi-generational families, and they can do a buyout of the entire property, which is an important thing these days with the coronavirus. And we can make sure that they operate in a bubble for the entire time that they're in Cuba. Next. Out in Viñales, these private properties are across the entire country. This property is owned by an Italian lady who used to work for Valentino in Rome for many years, is now retired, and brought her style to the countryside in Cuba. So this is a great surprise when people turn up here and expect another very simple rural property, but they have the style of somebody who worked with Valentino in Rome for many, many years. Next. Next. And again, in Viñales, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen a lot of people return to Cuba from abroad, from living in Ibiza or Barcelona, and bringing their design ideas. This one is in Trinidad and is an 8-bedroom property. This is one of the suites. It has an organic farm. It has beautiful horses to ride. It's right on the edge of the town, and it's in fact one of the smallest properties, the oldest properties in Trinidad. So arriving here means that you're going to have great food, great service, and this incredible, unique Cuban design, which people don't expect in Cuba. Next. And again, this is another property in Trinidad that we use. So there's many options across the whole island. Over in Baracoa, which is over in the east of the island, there are 2 or 3 properties coming along and more planned, so that there's options for people to stay in these boutique properties anywhere in the island. Next. Next. So just to talk about Cuba, it is a very easy island to sell. You literally look at it, it's 1,000 kilometers long, and you can divide it in 2, and that gives you an idea about how to divide up the country according to the amount of time that your clients have. We have clients coming from the United States to Havana for 2 or 3 days for a short weekend. We have people coming from New York, or we have from Miami, or from Atlanta, where they're all direct flights, which is a very easy hit. But we also have the west of the island, which is Havana, Viñales, and Trinidad, which are the 3 UNESCO World Heritage Sites of Cuba. And this you can do in approximately 7 days, in a very leisurely pace. You can take in the tobacco farms in Viñales, the amazing countryside. You can then go down to Trinidad, which is by the sea and one of the oldest colonial towns in the Americas. And you can enjoy nature and waterfalls up in the mountains. And within all of this, if you're multi-generational or you're younger millennials, you can do everything from deep sea fishing to bone fishing to stand-up paddle boarding, kayaking. So it has a whole plethora of incredible soft adventure that you can do, and incredible wildlife, which people don't realize. But they have incredible bird watching, amazing things like swimming with sharks, riding on Harley Davidsons. So there's a whole load of things that you can do in Western Cuba, alongside the standard tourist things that we all know about, such as the cigars, the vintage cars, the dance, the music. And the other great thing about the Support the Cuban People license is that you can eat in private restaurants, which people don't realize. The criticism of Cuba is that the food is never that good, but it's completely changed. We have great chefs in Cuba now, including one of our special experiences is with a Michelin-starred chef cooking in his own Cuban restaurant. Eastern Cuba is like going back in time to the Caribbean of the 1920s. It's completely undiscovered, not very well traveled. So if you have clients who are looking to experience something completely different, then we send people over to that part of the island, to Santiago, to Baracoa. Baracoa is incredibly unusual. It only opened up for tourism about 15 years ago. It's still very untouched, has amazing beaches, incredible trekking. The food over there is completely different to the rest of the island. Everything is cooked in coconut and chocolate. And of course, it's where the Che Guevara set up his chocolate factory, which is the only chocolate factory in Cuba. So when you combine both sides of the island, you have this incredible opportunity over 2 weeks or 14 days to experience the more well-traveled western part, and then to go east and experience something that's more off the beaten path and much more local. The itineraries that we put together, which are 2 itineraries, one covering the whole island, and the other one is the highlights of Western Cuba. This is one of the most popular group trips that we've done over the past 15 years, and when it's well managed, it's very, very relaxing for people to do it. But as you can see, there are a huge amount in there. And this is really the thing that sells Cuba, the huge amount of variety that we have. So in this itinerary, you have everything from salsa to Afro-Cuban dance to rumba. You touch off Santeria, which is the religion of Cuba. But then in the same breath, you might go and see the Cuban National Ballet, which is very well regarded worldwide and has produced an amazing amount of international dancers. You have the gateway into the culture of literature through Ernest Hemingway. And in the past, we've done trips with his last PA, who married his son, Valerie Hemingway, which is one of the last remaining people from the family. You can visit artist studios, and you can see the architecture with one of the architects of Old Havana. And you can get inside all of these buildings, which a lot of the groups don't, down to size and everything else. But the way we manage it is that we want people to have as much access as possible. And then the other important thing is making sure that people come to a Caribbean island and enjoy the beach. So whenever we can, we make sure that once the 8 hours are covered to cover the license, then after that they can always enjoy sundowners at the beach in Trinidad. When you go east, we've got our trip starting with Cayo Saitia, which is one of the quirkiest things you can see in Cuba. It's an island which was gifted a full range of African animals from the Mozambique government. So you'd be very surprised to see zebras, ostriches in this island, and also wonderful beaches. You've got the Pine Hills in Mayari, then you've got the, as I said, Baracoa, and then all along the coast to Santiago, which is Cuba's second city and the home of Cuban music, everything from the Buena Vista Social Club to rumba. So you have the opportunity to combine wildlife, beaches, nature, with lots of music and dance and great food over in the east. Next. And family holidays. This is one of the biggest growth areas in travel, multi-generational families. So as I said before, we have incredible villas and of these boutique bed and breakfasts that we can use to buy out. But we've had incredible feedback from multi-generational families and younger families because of the huge amount of variety there is, a lot of it which appeals across generations. So a vintage car is something that's a kick for everybody. So we make sure that, you know, kids can do everything from drumming to boxing, Spanish lessons, etc. Horse riding, stand-up paddle boarding, kite surfing, snorkeling. So there's a huge amount that a family can do together, and we can do it on electric bikes, we can do it on the transport can be vans or vintage cars. So it's really one of the best destinations in the world for families. Another area which people don't really associate with Cuba is nature and wellness, but it is one way to get away from bigger cities like New York and Atlanta. And in a few hours, you can be out in the countryside in Viñales. And we put together a program which is uniquely Cuban. It probably doesn't have the luxury of some of the spas in the rest of the world, but what it does have is incredible practitioners. Everybody from incredible personal trainers, reflexologists, kinesiologists, dance teachers. And the great thing is that for the cost of a weekend in a spa in New York, you can come to Havana and you can experience for yourself these incredible practitioners. You know, a cooking lesson with a Michelin-starred chef, or a private session with a Pilates teacher that cost a fraction of the cost outside of Cuba. So it's a great option for a long weekend for somebody who wants to recharge their batteries and be in nature and enjoy the sea, and at the same time come to Havana at nighttime and hear incredible music and see incredible entertainment. Next. Super active breaks. We get a lot of requests for people who want to come and they want to be active, they want to cycle, they want to ride. So again, we have incredible practitioners. One of the great advantages of Cuba is that the salary differential with the rest of the world means that you can get the absolute best, and it doesn't cost the earth. So your yoga class, your salsa class, your surf class will be with the absolute best on the island, and as I say, it won't cost a fortune. Next. The big ticket item that people ask about in Cuba is cigar culture. And we offer a range of cigar tours. It can be something like visiting the Cigar Festival at the end of February, which is one of the biggest draws for people who love cigars. We take people into the countryside to the cigar plantations where they can ride through the plantations, and at the same time they can learn how to roll cigars. We can take them to the private factory of the Communist Party, El Aguita, where they can sample vintage cigars. And if they're there on a buying experience, as you can bring back as many boxes as you can to the United States, as you can use for personal use, we'll make sure that they are with the best sommelier for pairing Cuban cigars and vintage rum. Next. And lastly, we're very excited to have our first opportunity to be able to offer kosher food in Cuba. So depending on the level of interest of your clients, we can fly in a rabbi. We have the famous Berenthal brothers who've been working in Cuba for many, many years, who have a simple casa particular, but we can combine that with some of the better casas. And the Jewish history tour is one of the most interesting tours that we do, charting the history of the Sephardic Jews right through to people who came through during the Second World War and left to come to the United States, and after the revolution as well. So it's a fantastic story and very well told by the guide from the Jewish community. You have opportunities as well to spend Shabbat and to enjoy a meal with the community. So very, very interesting. And if you're have clients who are more interested, we can take you out to Cienfuegos, where there's a new synagogue, and to Santa Clara, and to the other parts of the island where there are still remnants of the community. So one of our best tours, the Jewish history tour. Just to say it again, we're local experts. It makes a very big difference to have all of the team based here in Havana, not to contact somebody and then have to contact somebody else. We're very, very careful about managing small groups and making sure that the dynamics are right. And if there need to be any changes, we're very happy to make them. So all we want to do is make sure that people leave Cuba with the best experience that they could possibly have. Next.
All right. I think, Johnny, that was awesome. I'm just going to tell you, I feel like you could probably talk for hours, right, about Cuba and some of the experiences. The island is so big and there's so many local opportunities to really get engaged with the community there. I'd imagine that, like you said, you could spend 2-3 weeks there and not get bored. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a lot of variety. That's the great thing, which makes it great to sell, because you can really tailor make to the clients you have, whether they're interested in nature and adventure, or if they're interested in something that's more cultural. There's a huge amount to choose from.
Very exciting, and thank you very much for participating. We're going to turn it over now to Alita Poljavec. Most of you are familiar with Alita. She's our handling all our product development and a European specialist, and she has been working with Johnny in putting together a program that is very specific to our needs. As we talked earlier, we're an FIT company. That's really a misnomer. We're building these luxury small group departures, 14 or less, that go throughout the world, that give you really an opportunity, kind of a hybrid experience. So, Alita, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can just share a few minutes about the product and the destination Cuba.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Michael, for the introduction, and thank you, Johnny, for the lovely presentation of Cuba. I'm really itching to sit on a plane and fly over there. My task today is just to tell you a little bit about our departures that we have for our luxury small groups for Cuba. And one of the most beautiful programs that I've ever seen in my entire career in the travel industry. So if we can open the next slide, please. is exactly this one. We call it the Rhythm of Cuba, and it's an itinerary that is based on 10 passengers at a maximum. And we have them visiting the Western Cuba that Johnny has spoke about, with a few wonderful days in Havana with amazing experiences, really touring the city with the vintage cars and the beachy taxis, and visiting jazz clubs, and really diving into the city and into its rhythm for real. And then to Cienfuegos and to Trinidad with the New Year's Eve in Trinidad. Really something to end this year. This year that has been really dreadful for so many people. This would be something that would make it so much better, to spend the last days of 2020 and the first days of 2021 in Cuba. We invite you all to contact us to get more information on this wonderful program. I invite you also to go on our webpage. I sent in the chat, I posted the links so you can see all the lovely places and amazing experiences that we have included in here. We can go to the next one, please. The very same itinerary, very same, with one little exception. Of course, they don't have the New Year's Eve dinner, right? They just have a dinner without the New Year's Eve, because we have 4 departure dates for this exact same tour, 7 nights, Havana, Cienfuegos, Trinidad, Santa Clara, and back to Havana. January, March, May, and November 2020. And something that is really, really dear and really special to me, because I am that kind of traveler who always wants to do the off the beaten path places. And we have the next slide, please. We have a fascinating itinerary which covers the whole island. As Johnny has already told us about the lovely places, here we have the first 3 days in Havana, just the same like the program that I talked about a minute ago. But then we have an internal flight, and we fly them into Santiago de Cuba, which is absolutely amazing. From there, we have a truly unique overnight inside of the Park Turquino in a villa. And then we go to Camagüey, which is in the central Cuba. It is the 3rd largest city of Cuba. Very, very special in terms of how it was built to protect the city and the citizens from the pirates. And then we go back into the Trinidad, Cienfuegos, and Santa Clara. So 13 nights. For those clients that really want to get to know Cuba, this is an ideal program. We have 3 departure dates set for 2020, in February, in April, and in the beginning of December 2021. I'm sorry, it's all 2021. I'm confused, I apologize. And with that, 2 amazing group programs for Cuba. We also want to mention all the other ones that we are doing, a lot of them in Europe. As you know, I'm a Croatian girl, so we have quite a few programs that are in the Adriatic and Balkan region, from Croatia, Serbia, Slovenia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have an amazing program for Albania, Macedonia, Kosovo, and Montenegro. We call it the Hidden Gems of Europe. That's really, really something special and unique. And then Poland and the Pearls of Europe, which is a classic program with an IWorld twist with Prague, Vienna, and Budapest. We have lovely two amazing, interesting programs for Portugal. One is family, one is a classic LSGD departure. And then we have the Croatian family adventure, 2 lovely programs for the Maltese Islands. Also, we have the holiday departure, which is December 27 until January 3rd for Croatia and Slovenia, which is also an amazing program to begin the new year with. And then in Latin America, the Costa Rica Wonders of Nature, 5 departures in 2021. We have a holiday one, also very special, another great opportunity for ending 2020 in a good, amazing way. Costa Rica family treasure hunt, 2 departure dates in the summertime, a very family-focused program with a literal treasure hunt for the kids. And Cuba for the holidays, which I've mentioned, our lovely pearls of Uruguay, Belize tropical adventure, and a lovely Egypt program, which is a combination of land and a Nile cruise. And soon to be published here, we have the Cuba Discovery that I mentioned. It will be published in the next couple of days, as well as the Rhythm of Cuba, which is already ready, just not on the website yet. We only have the New Year departure. You can see the program and inclusions and all of it there. Working on the beauties of South Africa, also 2 versions of the program, one family focused and the other one classic LSGD. 3 amazing programs for Italy that cover literally the whole country. And then Portugal for a family orientated program, Slovenia, or a family orientated program as well. And of course, very important to us is Israel, which is in the making. We are having a meeting with our local expert right after this webinar. Japan and Taiwan almost ready, as well as Chile and Peru, and a lovely combination of Tanzania and Kenya. So that is, please follow our newsletters and we will have all of that published really soon. And we are in the end. I will thank you for listening to me, for listening to us and staying all the way to the end. We have quite a few questions there. Michael, did you want me to read them?
Yeah, please. Why don't you take them one at a time and throw them out, and we'll decide whether it's an answer for Johnny, you, or for me.
It's a deal. Okay. So first question, I can take that right away. Where can I find a detailed itineraries of Cuba? If you go into our chat, I posted there the Cuba page, and I posted there our page on the website that includes all of our LSGD programs and departures. Second question, I guess this one will go to you, Johnny. This is, I'm interested in the Black History Tour. Can you tell us something about it? Johnny, can we arrange a Black History Tour of Cuba? Johnny,
Are you on? There you go, Johnny. Are you on?
The tour that we currently have is a 4-hour tour, which is delivered by one of the most interesting writers in Cuba. And it gets probably the best feedback of all of the tours that we do because it's so fresh. So I don't know if it could extend to a longer tour. Obviously, we can put together something a bit longer if you wanted to take in different parts of the country. But the core of it, the historical reference points and the study is basically delivered by this incredible guy. But we also have a lot of practitioners now. We're very focused on Black Lives Matter. So we've put together a list of tours from people from the Afro-Cuban community so that we make sure that that side is covered as well. But we definitely could put together a longer tour if that's something that anybody was interested in, taking you to Trinidad, to Matanzas, to Santiago to experience rumba, and to visit the plantations and to understand what happened in terms of slavery in Cuba and its repercussions today.
Amazing.
And then you can just email Alita direct at apaljavec@iworldoftravel.com, and she can work with Johnny on putting something together.
Yes, you can find my personal email and also my colleague's Zehava in the chat. I just posted it just a while ago, and also our email for requests and questions in connected to our luxury small group departures. So all 3 emails, you have them in the chat. Okay, next question was, do you also offer air from the US? And simple answer is yes, we can help you also with the air. Of course, right now, the situation with the flights is a little complicated, but we are expecting that starting from November, the flights should resume. And going on to the next question. Okay, this one is in regards to an agent was asking if she has clients that wanted to know when will they be able to use the cruise to Cuba. This is maybe a question that Johnny, you would know when the cruises will resume to port in Cuba. I'm really, it's not something that we do here, but
Yeah, well, a lot of the big cruise ships and cruise companies have American ownership, so the majority are still banned from working in Cuba.
yes.
So, but Fred Olsen is apparently starting a cruise based in Havana and touring the Caribbean, but not obviously going over and back to America. But that's tentatively in place for end of this year, next year. But that's the only one that's planned at the moment.
Yes, we do feel that with the land program is much, much better to get to know Cuba and stay there for a longer period of time and get the chance to meet the people and experience all the lovely things that are available.
100%.
Moving to the next question is, and maybe Michael, this one will be for you. Do you have any special offers for agents that have never been to Cuba but would like to come over that way to experience it and try to promote Cuba in the near future?
Well, listen, we are a company that are about education. And if you knew us from the last few years, we typically have anywhere from 8 to 10 FAM or educational trips a year. Those obviously got put on hold in 2020. But we're working with Johnny to put something in place for 2021. And listen, we always limit it to 6 to 8 participants to be able to experience the destination that you will begin to market. So yes, something will be in the works, and just pay attention to our newsletters that come out, and we'll update as we start putting those together.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Next question is in regards to the gastronomy in Cuba. And the agent wanted to know, Johnny, this one is for you, how we provide the items and how we work the logistics.
You mean in a cooking class, or
yes? Well, in terms of gastronomy, this is what the agent asked. The gastronomy in Cuba. How do you provide the items and how do you work the logistics?
Well, it depends. It depends where we're doing the tours, but we have a food tour of Cuba, which is managed by a chef. And as we go across the country from Vinales to Havana and on to Trinidad and even over to Baracoa, the equipment travels with us, the majority of it. And then each class is restricted to pretty low numbers, 5 or 6 people. And they are in the restaurant with the chef, or they're in the home, depending on what we're trying to show you. You know, it could be how to cook on carbon, on charcoal, as a lot of people in the countryside do, or it could be having a lesson with the Michelin-starred chef. So it's in a variety of different places, or it could be in one of those grand colonial houses in the kitchen. That's another place where we often do the classes. But it's, as I say, everything's completely bespoke. So we work with agents to create something that's completely unique and that nobody else is doing. And that works for your clients.
I absolutely love that. I would do any of those. Next question is also for you, Johnny. Can you tell us a little bit about the current situation with Havana being locked down because of COVID-19? no travel in or out of the city.
Yes. Havana is currently on lockdown until the 30th of September. I think it's important to realize that we're having our second wave, which is now happening or has yet to happen in the rest of the world. So they've been very, very strict about trying to bring down the numbers. And I noticed that yesterday and today, the numbers are heading in the right direction. So they fully expect to be back in October to where they were in June, which is with the number of infections under control. So the 30th of September is the date they have in mind at the moment. It may drift to the 10th of October, but they still have in mind that opening up before Christmas and trying to make sure that, that things are under control for then.
That sounds good. So we have a question regarding the religion. What was called the Cuban religion?
Oh, it's called Santeria, and it's the Afro-Cuban religion that was brought over from different parts of Africa. And it was kept very much alive in Cuba because Cuba was the only country where slaves could buy their freedom from the Spanish. Spanish being very finance-minded, they would sell slaves their freedom. So we had a lot of free slaves in Cuba, and they kept their traditions alive for that reason. So it is one of the most interesting destinations for that kind of religion. It's also very popular among young people today. So you can see a lot of people wandering in Havana dressed in white. We have a different ways of experiencing it. You can go to the home of an expert in Santeria and they will explain the roots of rumba and all the different kinds of dances. Or you can just go and see a rumba show. So there's all sorts of different ways. You can even go and meet a babalao or a priest, and you can have a ceremony, an introductory ceremony yourself. So depending on the seriousness of the people, there's all sorts of levels that you can come in at.
Amazing. Okay, technical question also for you, Johnny. I think the best. Cuba doesn't accept U.S. insurance policies. So for U.S. citizens, is their only option is to purchase a Cuba travels insurance? And can we get it? Can we get it included in the package?
Yes, you can. Yeah, there are a couple of agencies that will sell insurance. They're not very well known, but they are there. Remember that the insurance is automatically included for Americans in the flight ticket, and that's repatriation insurance and emergency medical cover. So
Amazing.
From that point of view, people are covered, and really the insurance you're talking about is probably for regular holiday insurance like theft, etc., yes, which you can buy extra. And in fact, you can also buy on arrival in Cuba from the Cubans as well. So there's a few different options.
Okay, and let's go to the next question. We have an agent that have sent many clients to Cuba over the years, and she has been herself several times, and she also lived in a farm. And her niche of clients is very upscale, and they cannot wait to travel again. So do you believe Cuba will be open for New Year's? And are they better to stay in villas? Also, she wanted to know are you familiar with Jose Toirac?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Well, Jose is one of our, we obviously go to, when we do an art tour, we do a bit of research and ask people what they're interested in seeing. But Toirac is one of the most popular artists in our art tour. So yes. Regarding opening up in December, my personal opinion is that yes, it will. I think that the received wisdom from everybody is that we're going to reach a tipping point, and we've just got to get on with it at some stage. So I think we operate the highest levels of biohygiene. So that is to say, if you have people who want the highest levels, we'll operate that for them, which means that they will travel in a bubble in Cuba from start to finish. We'll vouch for their drivers and their guides with socially distanced The properties will be ozone cleansed, etc. So it will be the highest levels of hygiene available in the world. Obviously, that's not for everybody. There may be a group of 22-year-olds who are there for the weekend who want something different. So we're very much driven by what you want for your clients. And if they feel that a villa or a buyout is the right way for them, then that's what we will put in place for them. Absolutely.
Of course, yes. We always take good care and custom create anything that the clients would want to have included, starting from accommodation to everything else. Okay, so here is a question about car rentals. How do we manage them? But I will take this one, and we organize this everything with private services and guides. So Johnny, you can help me out maybe, but to rent a car in Cuba, that would not fall into the guidelines of how we have to structure the programs in order for them to be legal. Am I right?
Yes, I mean, the ideal situation is to support Cuban people and in many ways as you can. If you do a direct car rental from a government agency, then that doesn't count towards supporting the Cuban people.
Yes.
But if you hire a guide driver, then you are directly, because he goes and rents the car, and then you're supporting somebody who's effectively setting up his own little business. So that's a big difference. The other thing I would say is that Cuba is not good driving terrain for a variety of reasons. One, it's pretty boring between one destination and the other. You know, the signage is pretty bad. You know, mobile phone coverage for a GPS can be sketchy. And it's not driving down Highway 101, you know, it's not fun particularly. And you also have issues with potholes and bad roads and horses jumping out on top of you. And, you know, it is much more of a vacation for not that much money more to have a guide driver who can guarantee to get you from A to B. The other thing is the distances in Western and Eastern Cuba. It's 1,000 kilometers long. You can end up doing a lot of driving, so it's much better and much more relaxing to have somebody do it for you. Car rentals are very hard to manage in Cuba. One of the ways of the black economy is for the people operating those desks to sell to the highest bidder. So you can often find when you go and pick up a car that it's not there, that somebody who had a bit more money is taking it away. But all in all, if you want the best experience for your clients, and it's not going to cost the earth, is support a Cuban person by getting them to be the guide driver.
Yes, thank you so much, Johnny. I have a next question that I think, Michael, you should take. It is, how do I access this training for my travel team?
Well, we have all these, first of all, you'll get this webinar, it's recorded, it'll be emailed to you since you participated, so you can share that with them. We can also, on our website, you'll go to the video section, so iWorldofTravel.com/videos, and you'll see three different categories of videos that are made specifically for education for your travel agents, your group. And or we're more than happy if you wanted to do a private session with your group. We can schedule a Zoom private meeting where we can go through the presentation and answer any questions. Whatever it is that's best for you and for your team, that's how we want to be looked at. We want to be a resource for you. So just email either myself or Alita, and we'll be happy to arrange anything you need.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Michael. Next question is, oh my goodness, these are just comments. It was wonderful. Johnny was awesome.
It was awesome.
Yes, absolutely. There is another question. Are there any adult-only properties in Cuba? Johnny?
There are a good number, yes, of adult-only hotels, mainly on the beaches. So along the beaches in Cayo Santa Maria, there's a couple of Melia products. The beach hotels are very variable, so, you know, I would definitely ask for advice from a leader in advance. But there's a couple of very good adults-only properties, yeah, all-inclusive, adults-only.
Well,
Sounds good.
I think what I would add too is, as we spoke, Johnny, and you shared with us, parties that we're working with to support the local people is our small, more boutique, limited maybe 6, 7, 8 rooms, 8 suites. So, you can create your own adult-only property and experience by, we could just book the whole property for your group if it's a large enough group and take up all the rooms. So there's some options available.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so questions keep popping up, and we have quite a few. And here is one that I think is interesting that we say out loud. And did I hear you would arrange visas for my group? And the answer is yes, a big yes. We take care of it completely. Okay, so next one, let's see. Did I miss how large a group maximum number of guests? And do you allow on, say, the Cuba holiday tour? So first, I will take the first part of the question regarding our LSGD departures. We are at a maximum of 10 passengers. So everything is really, really intimate and really nice. And do you allow on, say, the Cuba holiday tour? I'm not exactly sure, maybe Johnny?
I'm not sure, maybe they mean tour guide, or I don't know.
Well, they're asking about the size. I think they're asking about the size of the group. Traditionally, our small luxury small group departures are going to be 14 or less. With Cuba, because we want to support the local people, the properties that we're using would have us lower it to 10. Now, can we do larger groups?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. We've done very, very big groups. So we can do any size of a group, really. It's just a matter of making sure that we honor the terms of the license, which if we have to use a hotel, because the rule is that if you cannot use a local property, you can use a hotel, and there are legal hotels we can use in Havana and Trinidad. Then we just have to bump up the number of hours of supporting the Cuban people experiences to make sure we're covered in that way. Because the required amount is about 8.5 hours a day of demonstrable ways in which you supported Cuban people. So yes, I mean, the hotel capacity of the Saratoga is 200 in Trinidad. The hotel capacity is about 100 and something. So yes, in theory, yes.
That's
and we can
great.
take, and even with the LSGD products, if you take a look at any of the itineraries that Alita's put together with Johnny, if the dates don't work, we can create a private group for you for that destination. So the LSGD are also suggestive itineraries and how we feel that Cuba should be experienced. So don't feel like if you can't do that date, you can't do that itinerary. We can plug that in other dates throughout the year.
Yes. I have a question for you, Michael, here. Do you have a site that is only for agents?
So no, not as of yet. We have a portal that we're getting ready. Well, we were starting to get ready to build in March, April. That would be part of the website. But how we address that is, if you'll notice on our website, we have no pricing. We have all suggested itineraries and programs, and we're always pushing to contact your local travel advisor. So any pricing is given direct to you. Even in the communications with our newsletter, where it's a specific purpose for you as a travel advisor, we don't put the forwarding content on there because we know it's just going to you. We only put the forwarding on those newsletters that are useful for you to pass on. So we are, it's been put on hold, the actual portal site that's specific for travel advisors. We hope to pick that back up in 2021, but the website itself is, again, it's supportive, where it doesn't reveal any information, only education and support for the travel advisors.
Thank you so much, Michael. So another question for you, Johnny, is a bit more on women in power you mentioned. Also concerns from clients about going to Cuba and continuing the oppression of the people through Cuban government. Are all tour proceeds going direct to the people of Cuba versus going to the government?
Yes, that is the whole point of the that's the whole point of the Support the Cuban People license. It means that everything in an itinerary goes directly into the pocket of Cuban people, and you're really supporting the growth of private business in Cuba, which has really exploded over the past 4 years. I mean, there are so many properties and businesses. So we especially like to support, as we said, Black lives, that is Black people setting up businesses. And we also like to support and make sure that women who are running businesses are supported. So we can provide you with a list of both of those to make sure that in your itinerary, that those are covered. And the other, I mean, I think women have great equality in Cuba anyway. It's just one of the legacies of the revolution. But we're very careful about supporting small businesses that are just starting off. You know, in Santa Clara, we have a little group of people who are setting up a peanut butter business. It sounds not very exciting, but you never know, in 10 years' time, they could be the big peanut butter suppliers in Cuba. So it's very important to support those. And it's also very important to support businesses that aren't always about tourism, because when the tourism is gone, they go. So we want to make sure we support businesses that are also embedded in the economy in Cuba. But for sure, the answer is, if you want to support private business, which is the way to make sure money doesn't go to the regime in Cuba, the best way to do it is through Support the Cuban People licenses. Because as you can see, everything is private: the hotel, the guide, the car, the accommodation, everything.
Thank you so much, Johnny. That's a great answer. Okay, so we have a couple of more questions. We still have a large number of you with us. Thank you so much. That means that Cuba is very appealing to everyone. So here, another question for you, Johnny. In case someone gets sick on the trip, how will that be addressed and handled in Cuba?
Well, weirdly enough, that is one of the I'd rather be sick in Cuba than anywhere in the world, because we have a huge amount of polyclinics. So the first port of call is that they go directly to a local polyclinic, which is not the same as a medical doctor's office. It's got all the equipment there. It's got blood testing, X-rays, everything, and then our emergency protocols go into place. I mean, they're in the hands of the medical practitioners. They have their insurance cover, which we contact immediately. And we contact, obviously, IWorld, who then contact you, and then we take it from there. If they need repatriations, which in a couple of cases, very few, but in a couple of cases they have needed, then there are normally a large number of flights. And if they're based in Havana or Trinidad or Viñales, they're really not very far from the airport to get them out and get them home as soon as possible, if that's what they need. But the quality of the care and the quality of the service is excellent. It really is.
That's great. That's really good to know. And another question, very normal for these days: are there any COVID restrictions or preconditions for clients coming to Cuba? What precautions are in place? If you can tell us a little bit about it, Johnny.
Well, they're obviously it's a work in progress, but currently the plan is that people could bring a verified coronavirus test no older than 72 hours. And that would mean that they would just require one follow-up test, which would be, depending on when they have brought the date of their verified test, they would have one more test in Cuba to guarantee that they didn't have the virus. And if they didn't have a test with them, they would be required to take one on arrival. There are regular temperature checks along when you go from one municipality to another, when you check into a property and when you check out of a property. That's one of the things that they require. And as I said before, the hygiene protocols really depend on the group that's coming. In Cuba at the moment, people are required to wear masks and socially distance and hand wash, which is the basic kind of hygiene requirements of anywhere in the world. They're not required to wear masks on the beach, and they're not required to wear masks inside the properties. That's where we are today. That may change in a month's time and be relaxed a little bit. But as I said before, you know, we can operate to even higher standards than that if that's what's required by the clients. Or if they're younger people and they want something different and they're happy with that, then we can do that as well. So we're really listening to what the clients want.
That's great. Technical question here. Are GoPros and drones allowed in Cuba?
No.
Okay, simple answer. Just two more. Can Americans go to Cuba just for the beach, or do they still have to do the educational visits and beach time is limited? Johnny, you can take that one too, but I think we already spoke about it quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, the 11 categories of travel that are available, there's really only one that's applicable at the moment if you want to travel to Cuba legally. And that is the Support the Cuban People license, which we've discussed earlier on in the itinerary. The difference between the people-to-people license and the Support the Cuban People license is that the people-to-people license had some implication for the travel agency in America because they were selling it as a group and providing a tour leader. The Support the Cuban People license, the responsibility for being legal is 100% with the client, the passenger, the traveler. So if they want to travel in Cuba and do something different, then obviously that's down to them. There can be no comeback on the travel agency or the airline or anybody else. But obviously we encourage people to do it legally, which would mean that they would be 8.5 hours a day of verifiable Support the Cuban People activities. And then once they'd completed that, then obviously they could go to the beach. I mean, one of the activities that we supply at the beach could be a cooking lesson at the beach. It could be a surf lesson at the beach. It could be, so you can be in the beach area.
Like we have included in the small group departures where we have snorkeling with the boat going off, right, in Trinidad.
Exactly. So long as it's a private individual that's delivering that experience, that is the key thing. The other part about the legalities of travel for Americans to Cuba is tourism is not allowed, but obviously that's a vague sort of directive. I mean, if you're supporting Cuban people and you happen to be at the beach, then your primary concern is supporting Cuban people and supporting business in Cuba. So they would allow that. But going to a beach hotel for 2 weeks would be very difficult to explain.
Of course. So a very simple answer to all the questions related to this is just work with us and we will make it the best way for the clients, and it will be completely legal and compliant with all the rules. Okay, so, two more questions. One more popped out. So do you have solo travelers, deals, itineraries? Can a solo traveler tag along with the group? And I can take this one, and not only for Cuba, but for the whole world that we operate. Of course, we can arrange everything for a solo traveler. That's the first question. And second, of course, a solo traveler can also tag along with the group. We have a single supplement which is available for all our luxury small group departures. And last question today, a cute one. Can a traveler, fur babies, dogs, or cats join the trip to Cuba?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, they can. And one of the charities that we champion in Cuba is the animal charity. And so we have a lot of animals also traveling from Cuba to be adopted in the United States. And We've had pets go to New York and reside in the Upper East Side. So they're very pleased with that. So yes, animals can go over to Cuba and come back.
That sounds great. There is one quick more question that I noticed being posted in the chat box, but I think it's interesting. Can a physically challenged person be accommodated in Cuba?
Yes, we do groups. We've done groups from the United Kingdom for clients who are visually impaired, and also for wheelchair. For clients who use a wheelchair. So yes, you can.
Amazing.
Very much so, yeah.
Thank you so much, Johnny. Thank you so much for everyone listening to us. Michael, back to you.
All right, listen, thank you. That was wow, that was a good long time. A lot of participants stayed on. Johnny, great information. Alita, way to host the questions and cover the LSGD products. And again, all of you, thank you for your support and participation. Stay strong, stay safe. It's been a heck of a year, but it's getting closer to the end of the year, and hopefully we have some good things to look forward to in 2021, and perhaps even so on the end of this year. Well, thank you very much. Have a great afternoon, great evening, and again, Johnny, thank you for your participation, your friendship, and your partnership.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.